Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hennie Rahmawati, and I'm from Classroom Action Research. And today, I am going to present my proposal action research with title Improving Speaking Ability Competence through Roleplay of 7th grade students of SMP Negeri 1 Banjarmasin. And the first one is Introduction. Language is one of the most important means of a communication used to express the purpose and intent of something desirable for a person. Every country in the world has a language as a national identity, or a local language. In the development of this era of globalization, almost all areas of life require the ability to speak the world-recognized international language named English. English is an international language that many countries in the world use to communicate with each other. English has developed into four skills, namely listening, mendengarkan, reading, membaca, writing, menulis, and speaking, berbicara. In general, students who have attended junior high school and high school have difficulty communicating their wishes, thoughts, and ideas using English. This is also experienced by most of the grade 7 students of SMP Negeri 1 Banjarmasin. This phenomenon is caused by the low vocabulary possessed and the trust of grade 7 students of SMP Negeri 1 Banjarmasin to speak directly in English. The learning method will have a huge influence on student interest in following it. Sooner or later, a student learning English will have to speak a lot or practice speaking. Therefore, when learning English, students should use effective and fun activities or interactions so that students do not get bored learning. Many students are tired of learning activities. This is one of the reasons that reduce students' motivation to learn English. English learning is mostly focused on reading because reading dominates many test questions, both joint and UN tests. On the other hand, speaking skills don't get enough attention. The learning of speaking skills is presented limited to explanation of the function of language expressions, without allowing students to act out the experience. To make matters worse, the discussion were packaged in the form of practice questions. These factors hinder students' English speaking skills, of course. An attempt that can be used as an alternative to solving this problem is a role-play method. Using the right teaching techniques makes students more motivated in learning English. With role-play methods, students can practice their speaking skills in many situations, and indirectly, mastery of English vocabulary will be more. Next is the research question of this research. So the research question is how to apply role-play to improve student English speaking competence in grade 7 of SMP Negeri 1 Banjarmasin. And the objective is to find out the application of role-play to improve the speaking skills of grade 7 students of SMP Negeri 1 Banjarmasin. Next is the benefits of this research. For the students, there are two benefits. First one is can improve English speaking skills. And the second is students become confident in speaking English. For the teacher, can add insight into the use of role-play methods. And for the other researcher or the general, can provide additional knowledge about the application of role-play methods. Chapter 2 is literature review. The first one, we talked about speaking skills. And next is literature review. First one, we talked about role-play methods. Quote from Jadi 2021 states that in role-playing games, students are in certain situations outside the classroom, even though that time learning was carried out in the classroom and used English. In addition, role-play is often designed as one of those activities in which the student imagines themselves outside the classroom and imitates others while using English. Role-play is a simulation-based teaching and learning process. Role-playing means learning in situational way to understand a concept. With this method, students have the opportunity to actively engage, to understand concepts better and remember them longer. However, it takes a lot of time. And then, from Lindawati and Senke, 2017, state that teachers have a role to provide a new vocabulary to students and create conducive learning situations so that English can be used in a real and natural way. Role-playing method is a learning method in which it reveals the presence of pretend behavior of visible students and/or imitation of situations. A simulation model is defined as a learning activity that allows the student to imitate an activity or task that is necessary for everyday life or that is related to the task for which they will be responsible when the student has started work. Role-play is important in teaching speaking because it allows students to practice communication in different social contexts and different social roles. Moreover, it also allows students to be active and put students in the other people's places for a while. Next is speaking skills. Speaking is a form of conveying information using words or sentences. It can also be understood that speaking means using language that varies according to speakers. Quote from Lindawati and Senke, Harmer, 1983, argues that speaking is a natural means of communication among members of society to express thoughts that is a form of social behavior. In addition, Harmer, 1983, states that speaking skills is the ability to compose sentences because communication takes place through sentences that represent different behavioral differences between people. And then, quote from Lindawati and Senke 2017, Richard 2008, states that mastery of English speaking skills is a top priority for a second and foreign language learners. In other words, a student can speak English fluently and correctly so that when conveying opinions, feelings, and thoughts, the other person can understand well. If a speaker can speak fluently, it will be easier for the audience to understand what speakers want to convey. Often the speaker is disjoint, even inserting some sound that make it difficult for listeners to understand. For example, inserting oh, and etc. In learning English, pronunciation is one of the factors that encourage success in oral communication. Mispronunciations can lead to misunderstanding and eventually communication breakdown. Understanding means, in this case, understanding a subject while speaking. In a formal conversation, preparation is always needed. The aim is to truly master the topic being discussed. Therefore, understanding is very important and even a key factor in speaking. And then the relevant studies that related with this research. The first one is from Ibnu Rusdiadi with title Penerapan Roleplay untuk meningkatkan keterampilan berbicara siswa dalam pembelajaran bahasa Inggris kelas 9B MTS Negeri Kalabi tahun ajaran 2010-2011. Based on the result of research conducted by Ibnu Rusdiadi, the use of role-playing can increase student activity during the learning process. The application of role-playing can also improve student speaking skills in English by up to 20% and success in achieving learning mastery, namely 75%. In conclusion, the use of the role-playing method can minimize student speech errors. Second one is Ni Putu Lindawati dan Hennie Senke, peningkatan keterampilan berbicara bahasa Inggris dengan teknik role-play pada siswa kelas 10 SMA Dwi Jendra Denpasar. Based on the result of research conducted by Ni Putu Lindawati and Hennie Senke, there was an increase in results after applying the role-play method, where the initial test results showed 46.15% in cycle 1 to 70.82% and in cycle 2, 77%. The measurement pays attention to vocabulary, fluency, grammar pronunciation, and comprehension. And the difference between this research and These two researchers is that the research conducted by Ibnu Rusdijadi in 2021 was a student of class 9B MTS Negeri Kalabi 2010-2011 school year, and the subject of research by Niputu Lindawati and Hennie in 2019 was a class 10 second class student of SMA Dwi Hendra Denpasar. Meanwhile, the subject of this study is a class 7 grade F student of SMP Negeri 1 Banjarmasin. Next is methodology. The method used in this research is classroom action research, or CAR. Classroom action research is an examination of learning activities in the form of an activity that is deliberately staged and take place in the same class. These actions are given by the teacher or with instructions the teacher carried out by students, where the students are the target of action in the study. According to Suharsini Arikunto 2010, states classroom action research or CAR is a scientific research activity that is carried out rationally, systematically, and empirically reflective of the various actions taken by teachers or lecturers, staff, educational staff, collaboration research team, which as well as researchers to improve and enhance the learning conditions carried out by educators, collaboration or research teams, as well as researchers to improve and enhance the learning conditions carried out. Next is research setting and research subjects. The subjects in the study were 7 grade F students of SMP Negeri 1 Banjarmasin, totaling 37 students. It consisted of 14 males and 20 females. The subject of research this time is English. Then data and data research. For the data used is data on student learning outcomes regarding speaking skills. In addition, observational data were carried out during the observation using student activity questionnaires and teacher activities. Next is data research. The source of data in the study is 7th grade student of SMP 1 Banjarmasin, overtaken through tests, questionnaires, and observation. Meanwhile, other sources of data are English language education teachers who are taken through questionnaire and activity questionnaires. Next is the technique of data collection. The first one is test. The test uses the speaking test or role play. The test is carried out to obtain data of student learning outcomes related to speaking skills. The test used is an oral test that uses rubric speech assessment. Indicators of speaking assessment are pronunciation, spelling, intonation, fluency, and understanding. Next is questionnaire. Questionnaires were used to support the observation. Questionnaire filled by teachers and students that show student and teacher activities related to the use of role play in learning speaking skills. And last one is observation. Observation is done to obtain observation data. Observations are made to determine the teacher's teaching ability and know the teaching understanding. And next is technique of data analysis. Data analysis techniques in the form of quantitative data use the mean, median, weight, and lowest score. Calculate the mean with the following formula. Dengan keterangan as you can see on the screen. Next is the score table. There are 4 categories. There are excellent, good, simply, and less. The questionnaire obtained from the observation of teachers and students is assessed communicatively. Here are the assessment categories. And for the research procedure, according to AKIP 2006, quote from Harun and Nadiro, no date, this research design refers to the research design conducted by chemists and Taggart, namely a spiral mode that contains 4 components, namely planning, action, observation, and reflection, then replanning. On the right is the picture of the cycle that conducted by chemists and guards. Okay. The same planning and relearning steps are structured and implemented in each cycle, but with different themes. The theme for cycle 1 was school, and the cycle 2 is birthday theme. Learning activities carried out. Each action in cycle 1 to cycle 2 include: first, initial learning activities are creating conditions so that students can learn actively, maintain consciousness, and achieve learning objectives. The core of learning activity is to display and interpret images of objects according to the student, divide students into 9 groups of 4 each, provide explanation of each role in a style that allows students to visualize the role, guide students to practice role play, appoint each group to play a role in the topic covered, discussion to discuss deficiencies in the staging process, and the last one is the end of learning activity, which is the end of the learning activity. It is filled with motivating students to do what they have done, explore what difficulties are felt by students, and close learning. Data collection is carried out using research tools in the form of test results, student questionnaires, teacher questionnaires, student activity observation sheets, and teacher activity observation sheets. Data processing and analyzing of this study were carried out using quantitative descriptive data processing. And I think that's all presentation from me. Thank you so much for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.